You don't think the market rally, though, is coming to an end. Why?
Yeah, I don't think it's coming to an end. The best part of the rally is probably behind us in Q2 and Q3, but Q4 we're just still generally constructive on markets, and we do think there's some more upside in Asian equities going into 2021. And this is largely premised on a combination of three things. Firstly, we do think that the 2021 EPS outcome is probably going to be quite okay. So we're looking at a number that's 5% ahead of 2019, and that's something that's just starting to get baked into consensus expectations right now. Secondly, I do think that policy remains extremely supportive. And so far, what we've seen has been coming through the side of monetary policy, and that has supported valuations and growth in momentum stocks. But we do think that going into 2021, fiscal policy will start to play a major role. And this is where perhaps the most upside on equities comes through, where you start to price in a greater probability of this outcome happening or not. The third thing to keep in mind is that if you look at equities globally, positioning is still on the lighter side of average that we've seen over the last several years. So if we go back to the highs of the peak in 2017, there's still a lot more positioning from non-bank investors globally to be put into equities. So all these three factors make us still more constructive on equities overall.
Given, though, the tech sell-off, how do you position around that volatility? We were just looking at the US futures, and the NASDAQ is called sharply lower again tonight. So what do you do in this instance?
Indeed, yeah. So this is I think a transitory phenomenon where we are seeing a rotation away from momentum and into value. And obviously momentum has become extremely crowded. So pretty much on any measure that we have, if you look at crowding, if you look at valuations, if you look at investor positioning, all of those suggest that momentum is extremely crowded, record crowded by every measure. So in this kind of a situation, you would expect to see occasional pullbacks, and we do think that what we're seeing right now over the last several days is indeed one of such pullbacks rather than essentially the end of this rally in Nasdaq. Because, like I said before, monetary policy still remains extremely supportive, and that basically is a very strong underwriting support for valuations in this growth and momentum stocks, where tech is a very large part of that. Fundamental wise, again, these sectors are still going quite strong, and we have no reason to believe that that's going to change imminently. So you put those things together, we're still in for a tactical rotation into value, and we do think that if you start to see a COVID vaccine, for instance, or if you start to price a more aggressive reopening across economies globally, that could give another leg up to value stocks in general. But this is still more of a rotation from my perspective. We'll probably still go back to growth and momentum from a medium-term perspective.